Another potential government shutdown is on the horizon, with funding set to run out at the end of this month. The White House is asking Congress to extend the shutdown deadline until the end of January, but some on the left are arguing that Democrats need to play hardball in funding negotiations as a way of fighting against the Trump administration. Now, columnist Ezra Klein writes in the New York Times, quote, Donald Trump is corrupting the government. He's using it to hound his enemies, to line his pockets, and to entrench his own power. This is what Democrats cannot fund. This is what they have to try to stop. He goes on to say, quote, Democratic leaders have had 6 months to come up with a plan. If there's a better plan than a shutdown, great. But if the plan is still nothing, the Democrats need new leaders.
Republicans do have a majority in both the House and the Senate, but they need 7 Democrats to side with them in the Senate to avoid a shutdown. Some Democrats are pointing to health care as the most important thing to fight for in these negotiations. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says that if they want Democratic votes, I think we need to have a high price. And so that price could be saving the Affordable Care Act. I think that's certainly a noble, worthwhile endeavor. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the GOP is ready to negotiate, but that it's on Democrats to get the ball rolling. Take a look.
They are desperately searching for a solution, and some in the party apparently think a government shutdown would be some sort of political advantage to them. It'd be what we all know is dangerous and harmful to millions of Americans, and that is not the answer. So I'm going to say this again, and I'm saying it in good faith. I've shared this with the Democrat leader in the House and other colleagues. If Democrats are willing to work with us, we have our sleeves rolled up, and we want to do this in good faith. We just have to think responsibly how to spend less money than we did last year.
I think Ezra Klein's spot on here with the fact that Democrats had months to figure out what they want. And so they should be very vocal, like they were out this summer bashing the big, beautiful bill, about exactly what they want to see happen for this spending bill to go through. And that everyone should be on board, calling up their local politicians, whether they're Democrat or Republican, saying we agree, to get people all on the same page. Because, you know, almost every year we're talking about a government shutdown. I feel like every time we turn around, and you know what?
Because they fund the government in this really backward, continuing resolution sort of way.
But a shutdown to me is just a failure of the government to actually govern. And I think it's just such a mess when you think about the actual people that are implicated in this foolishness, because people that we've elected in office to do all the things that we talked about today with Charlie Kirk, debate, disagree, are not effectively coming together to do their job. Like, the debate and disagreements are supposed to be so that I can hear your perspective, you can hear mine. Okay, how do we solve this? We do not just stand still. We do not allow Americans to suffer because we can't make a decision. We do not stop leadership. And so that, to me, is just insane that we're back here all over again, and just a sign of the extremely partisan times we're in if they allow, you know, thousands and thousands of people to be out of work. Because you forget that it directly, not you, but American people in this conversation about some esoteric shutdown, forget that people are actually not at work when the government shuts down. People can't feed their families. Everyone doesn't make a lot of money. Like, people think politicians might be rich. Some people actually just have regular jobs and can't work when the government shuts down. And so I think that is
very.
What, you don't mind if people are out of work?
You mean government employees?
Yes, there's government employees that are actually effective in doing their job. Why do you not care at all?
We need to get rid of a lot of government employees. The government is too big. The government is not is not a jobs program. It is bloated, and it needs to be shut down in large measure. However, a government shutdown does not accomplish that because, first of all, only a small part of the government actually gets shut down. A bunch of employees get furloughed. They basically get vacations because they always get voted back pay afterward. So we're not actually saving ourselves any money. It's just inefficient.
In this economy, some people can't afford to skip their check and get back pay later.
I'm addressing taxpayers who might think, I would love to have less of my tax money go to pay government employees. That's not how it works, because they get voted back pay every time. So it doesn't, in the long run, it doesn't save us any money. Ineffectively and inefficiently shutting down part of the government and then paying those people later, everybody who didn't have to work, is not a thing that makes any sense. So we don't want the government to shut down.
So the longest ever government shutdown was for 35 days in 2018, 2019.
I well remember it.
Yes, and so 800,000 people were out of work. Now, I know, let's say you even think half of them are ineffective. 400,000 people, including Pentagon employees, were furloughed. And so that is problematic when you think about safety, security, and all the government jobs that you...
Nah, they keep all the safety parts running.
Okay, but there's still people that support them, that, let's say they're admin. Like, these are people that are not working. And so, yes, we're not going to be attacked and have nobody at the Pentagon. But there are several jobs that are necessary to the people running the place that require people to be at work. And so all these people are just out of work. I think we should consider that when we're talking about, I mean, that's most people in this town that are supporting or working around, in or around the government in some way in Washington, D.C. that are going to be out of work. And you don't care?
Tears.
Okay, well, the bigger problem is that Americans want an effective solution to our debt. Part of the problem is that Republicans seem to be interested in raising our debt because of the big, beautiful bill.
Well, Democrats don't want to cut anything, so this isn't on Republicans.
Well, they're saying, I think with
AOC wants to find ways to preserve the...
And I think with AOC saying that, that's just one way. I mean, the same thing that Senator Josh Hawley was saying. We can't cut Medicaid. We need to protect people with health insurance.
Well, he's a big government rhino, too.
But, okay, right now he's a rhino. Okay, he's a friend of President Trump. I don't think he's a rhino.
He's a bad influence.
Okay, but he has a perspective. You like debate.
Medicaid.
So him and AOC, they agree there. So why don't they come together and get more people on the page?
For all those NatCon Holly fans out there, him and AOC are...
He believes that Americans are going to... Why do people hate the big, beautiful bill outside of it raising the debt? You know, the average American probably does not care that much about the national debt because it doesn't really affect them in their minds day to day about
it affects
how
our
they...
children and our grandchildren.
Yeah, but they're not thinking about that far, right? Thinking about tomorrow and their groceries and everyday things like going to the doctor if they need to.
Spending less
and
of their
spending
money,
$10,000 on a bill because they have no health
groceries.
insurance. May I finish?
Yes.
So they're thinking about those day-to-day expenses that include your health insurance that gets very expensive if you have no coverage whatsoever. And so I think it's important to make sure that you're considering people that are the most vulnerable in our country when it comes to cutting some of those programs like Medicare.
I want to put money back into their pockets.
But that's never going to happen. Republicans are not cutting a check saying, oh, you know what? We took back this money. We're cutting everybody $1,000.
That's what they should do.
Well, they're not going to do it, Robbie. I told you should run for Congress then, because that's not even on the table for anybody.
But the issue is all those the poor people that don't pay anything in taxes don't have anything to get back. So it's should people who are trying to make ends meet and things are a little harder, grocery prices are worse, their taxpayer dollars are going to pay for people who aren't working at all. And there's some resentment there that I think is well deserved.
Well, I think if Democrats do nothing and just, like Chuck Schumer went to the other side and decided to help the budget resolution get passed last time, people criticized him to no end, right? He couldn't even go back home without getting criticized. I think people have to come up with a better solution. They should tell their local representatives exactly what they want them to do or exactly what is mandatory right now, and people should fight for it. AOC is the first one we're seeing be very vocal about what she'd like to do, but we can hear more solutions. But now that we have what day is it? Oh, September 11th. We have a couple of days to the end of the month. I mean, people should have been thinking about this since the first time this year when we had this conversation. Everybody acts so surprised again that the budget's coming up. And to me, that's just the foolish part of Congress, which I really can't stand.
I can't stand Congress either. Lots more to talk about today on Rising. Please stay with us.